Welcome everybody to the ManHOOD Talk Show. My name is Dr. Lewis Jones.
Hey, it's DJ Damage, aka Abdul Quddas.
And we are back once again to talk about issues that affect the black community, specifically black men.
All black men, all right? Woo! Now, today's question, and I want to ask this to you.
Okay.
Do you feel like black men have an issue, or is it difficult for black men to be vulnerable?
Absolutely. Like, what?
But why do you say that? Why do you say absolutely? Well, like it's a for sure thing.
You know what? We talk about this in therapy a lot. And what comes up is a lot of black men who come into therapy, they talk about, like issues with struggling to communicate or, struggling to process their emotions. A lot of people don't even know how to label their emotions, So when we think about the origin of that, it kind of just go back to like early childhood from when like you're being raised and how as a kid you're silenced, So there's many things that kids hear was like, oh, shut up, or stay in the child's place, or what goes on is this house stays in this house. And you learn at an early age that you don't talk, that you don't speak up, that you don't talk back. So we carry that to adulthood, and now we full-blown adults, and we're struggling to communicate. We're struggling to process things, and that is just the demise of us as human beings altogether, because if we can't communicate, we can't understand, and we can't work together, so.
But specifically black men, do you think it's a little different in how they were reared as a child and like that connection with them being vulnerable with their emotions? And I'm asking you because you're the doctor.
Yes.
And I'm gonna give you my personal,
Absolutely. I think that, we raise black boys different than we raise black girls. But in all honesty, if we think about it, black girls are silenced as well. So I think that, in all honesty, women have more of free range to express themselves, whether it's received or not. Mm-hmm. I just think that with black men, because we're the ones that silence, in every aspect of our life, that when we become adults, we have nothing to say. And if we do have something to say, we don't know how to express it, So I just think that that's like, the ultimate issue.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's a lot of trauma there from youth and things I think that happen as a child that you're not able to articulate. And then when you get older, let me just lay it here. I feel like in my personal experience, there was things I wanted to talk about, but being from the hood, I seen worse. And I kind of felt shame on those kind of things. Like we see so much trauma and people go through so much that somebody will laugh at you for your little bitty pain. Like, some people didn't have a mom or a dad, they lived with their grandma. And you be crying about your dad leaving. And it's like, man, I ain't got no mom or dad. It's like the struggle Olympics sometimes when you grow up in the inner cities. And I feel like a lot of time that also silences us as black men too, where, we're in this realm where you gotta be so macho where things that hurt you ain't 20 times, worse than what hurt me. And it's like, well, who's hurt the most? And it's kind of crazy when you think about it, because I can even call back home, and if I was to talk to a friend back home about something I'm dealing with out here in LA, he'd be like, well, at least this ain't happening, this ain't happening, this ain't happened to you. So I also still don't have that space to express myself.
You know what, and not to take away from your experience too, I do want to highlight the fact that today, people, especially black men, are becoming more vulnerable. Mm-hmm. But what we are faced with is people who minimize our trauma, minimize our experience, and also sum up our issues as, oh, you're too sensitive. I really despise the word sensitivity because I think that people use it as a way to provoke disrespect. In a sense, how that works is it's like if you come to your friend and you say, hey, I have an issue with this, or I don't like this. And then what they will say was that you should be okay with it and you're too sensitive. And now you're feeling like, well, the word sensitivity is triggering. Let me scale back and not express myself because I don't want to be seen as weak, So I think that what I hear a lot in the world is like, you're too sensitive now. And it's like, as much as we express on ourselves, they use that word to push us down, to suppress us even more. So what I would like to do is just continue and to encourage people to just continue to speak out, continue to speak up, express yourselves, even against the grain, because even though we're doing the self-work, even though we're learning, what we're running into is a community of people who will still try to pull you back with the word sensitivity. They'll try to pull you back and say that you should shut up, or you don't know what you're talking about, or you too weak. And those are triggers for us that shell us.
I agree, but also to a certain extent, right? Because I do feel like today men are more emotional, which I think it's okay, but it's not the fact of being emotional, it's how you deal with your emotions. I think there's not enough tools to deal with your emotion, because when you look at the news and you see a bunch of kids killing other kids, that's an emotional trigger. You know, that's not carelessness. That's somebody that cares a lot. If somebody can say something to you online to provoke me to draw a gun, you know, it's a lot of things that's happening that's coming from being emotional. But I think how men activate their emotions is just a little different. And I think what we need is, one, it's okay to express yourself, but also knowing how to handle those emotions. Because for me, I know I'm emotional because I experience every emotion. I could be sad, angry, smug. To me, that's emotional. I display all ranges of emotion, but it's how you deal with it. When I'm angry, I'm gonna have to know I can't just strike you in the face because I'm angry, even if I want to. So it's that emotional control. So I think it's like, one, creating that space for men to be more emotional and vulnerable, but two, giving tools and resources to black men to how to deal with those emotions. When you feel, like when you see somebody stalking their ex-girlfriend, you're emotional, bro, you hurt, you're broken. That's not showing less emotion, that's being very in your feelings. But how do you deal with that? She left you, bro. What's the process for you to understand that, process that, and move on so you don't do something weird or disrespectful? And I think we need a lot of tools also in the black community to deal with the emotions we are showing.
I think you just said a question. I want to kind of answer that question. I think it's geared more towards coping skills. So I think that, like, with us, like, you know, we have all these issues. We don't know how to express ourselves. But as a grown man now who are still carrying these issues, what coping skills do you use, you know, to be able to like process emotions and be able to manage emotions and stuff like that?
Well, what I do is, for me personally, my coping mechanisms is I feel my feelings. Like if I'm angry, I'm allowed to be angry for a certain amount of time. I can't keep it going past an hour. Maybe I'll say it's 30 minutes. Like if I'm really upset about something, really dealing with it. If I'm really sad about something, let me be sad, because you already know as a man, it's not gonna go away. You could tuck it, and the problem is it's gonna come back up in a situation it's not supposed to. That's when you explode on somebody. That's when you scream at somebody, or, you know, start an argument with somebody that didn't deserve it because you didn't deal with the emotion. So you're carrying it sometimes for years. You know, I've carried some emotions for years because I just didn't deal with it in the moment. I was upset. Instead of me going, man, this really made me upset, I try to be, you know, macho, like, man, I don't care, but I cared the whole time. And then that came 5 years later, and it showed itself in an unpleasant way. So I think for me, I really lean into feeling my feelings in the moment.
I think what's important to like highlight is the fact that, like, when you say, like, I feel something, but I'm gonna say I don't feel it, you know? And you have to ask yourself, why did I not just speak up? What a part of me like made me show up and not say how I felt? And that's what we have to start understanding. And the one thing that comes up for me and like my coping skills is that, like, I hit all the coping skills in the world. Like, I was deep breathing, counting to 10, listening to, you know, Mariah Carey, blasting her, and just feeling better. But it wasn't until I went to therapy. And when I went to therapy myself, the door opened up. And what's interesting is that for a very long time, from childhood to adulthood, I didn't know what I was feeling. I was navigating the world. It was so much that was happening to me, and I was just brushing it off, moving through the world. Somebody can come hit me. I'm just moving through the world. And the thing about it, that when I went to therapy, it all came out. And it was just like I shielded myself as a way to protect myself from feeling the hurt that I was feeling. And when I was finally able to be vulnerable, it was like I just told everybody around me how I felt. And I just told everybody, like, I'm going back to 1993 when you had did this and this hurt me and yada, yada, yada. The most important thing that I had struggled with was, like, not getting the response that I wanted. So you can express yourself all day long, but at the end of the day, like, you didn't get the response that you wanted, you know?
And I'm glad you said that, because you said you went to therapy and you were so excited about it. But there's a huge stigma about black people going to therapy. First of all, you know, you as a doctor, where does that come from? I don't know what's the root of that. And I can tell how my homies and stuff feel about it, but what's the root? Do you know the root of why black people think it's a little crazy to go to therapy?
It's interesting because there's many things. It's many things. And I think, honestly, from my experience, is that when you think about it, it's like you are taught at an early age, especially in black household, that you don't talk about your feelings. You don't tell what's going on.
So
now that somebody is asking you what's going on, you like, nothing.
I'm gonna tell you, random person.
You know, I'm not talking to you. And then therapy has always been dressed up as a white person thing, a white people thing. And the reason for that is because in order to go to therapy, especially back then, you have to have resources. And black people did not have the privilege of having resources. We barely had a medical card that covered services. We barely had the money to pay for it. And therapy is expensive. Today, we have resources where we give curves, pen curves, medical insurance has covered it, even Obamacare covers it, and sometimes therapists will work with you for free if they feel the need that, you are in need. But I would just say that honestly is that it's always important to have somebody to talk to vent to, even if you can't afford therapy, even if you don't want to go to therapy, you find that person that you can talk to and express yourself and just get the help that you need.
Now, I was going to say, I know people need therapy because you ever go to a grocery store or maybe the gas station and it's somebody telling you their business for no reason, telling you their whole life story, and it's you crave an objective point of view on what you got going on. That's how I look at it. Every time, literally the other day I go to the gas station and I can't get out of there because this lady is randomly telling me every detail of her life. And I'm like, see, you need therapy. It's important.
And I'm gonna really piggyback off of that. We may not know it or not, but we are most vulnerable with people that we don't know.
It's the truth.
We don't tell, it's stuff that we tell our friends and family, but it's stuff that we will take to the grave. And that's stuff that we will share with a stranger because we feel more comfortable just talking to somebody and just getting an unbiased opinion.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, so before we wrap, I gotta ask you, did therapy help you?
Therapy helped me a lot. And it's so interesting that it was such a scary experience because I always dress therapy up and I say therapy, in the therapy room, it's like you in a surgery room. So when you go to surgery, they put you under anesthesia and you're unaware of what's happening. So in the surgery room, you see all this, the blood, the gush, and the guts and everything like that. But when you go to therapy and we're unpacking everything and we're pulling down those walls and we're letting all the trauma come out, you feel that, you see it. And so it's scary, you kind of run away and a lot of people don't come back. But for me, it's almost like I think about the results of therapy. I know that I've been told, I've been taught, and I know that the results of therapy works. I know that I'm gonna feel better in the end. So I push myself to go through it with knowing that in the end, I'll be better than when I came in.
That's what I'm talking about. And there's a lot of resources for therapy, right?
Yes. And if you or if you know anybody who are struggling with mental health issues, please reach out to the link in the phone number below. We have resources available to help you with anything that you're going through.
Thank you for watching today's episode, and make sure you tune in next week when we discuss Black fathers.
Bill's got the heat. I say black, black is gold, black is night, black, black is light, black, black is gold, black is night, black is love, black is light, black, black. Thank God for this hellfire that he blessed me with. Young gutter brothers that indulge in a decadence. Precursor purpose, first time finishing. God's light don't mean no diminishing. My nigga, I'm black. How lucky it is to see 21, no blackjack. Superstitions got it, premonitions like a black cat. Don't let your dreams through the seams, they might tax that. America chaos got my pain, it's a rap cap. Shine right through all of this stain, where the tide at? Been away, keep the fan focused, never sidetrack. Seeing is believing, it's a feeling, yeah, that contact. And if they sending shots, we gon' bomb back, boom, nigga. Made in this image, had a halo out the womb, nigga. They want me to be whatever they assume, nigga. But it's different on my side, I'm a killer whale, you caught. Couldn't stop me if you tried, nigga. Black is gold, black is night, black is light, black is gold, black is night, black